Conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so the time is 9:05 and I will be calling this meeting to order. We're having a special public meeting to deal with some items coming out of Eastern District Planning. And also we do have one addition with regard to a grinder purchase that I would like council to consider for as an addition. Is there any other? Thank you. Is there any other additions at this time? I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda with a one addition.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McIver. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Aucoin. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. So we do have planning recommendations from Committee of the Whole. I guess, Terry, which item do we have first? Because I will have Deputy Mayor McCrory chair for the item. Is this the first one we're dealing with the waterfront?
Yes, Your Worship, it's C2.
Okay, I'm going to submit the chair to Deputy Mayor McCrory for this item. Just maybe if somebody can send me a message when it's done, and I'm just going to turn my volume off. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Terry, you want to present?
Yes, Your Worship, or your Deputy Worship, your chair, or yeah, I'd request council for a motion for first reading of the following amendment to the municipal planning strategy for the town of Upper Hawkesbury. And that's that first reading is with respect to removing immediately the following strike through text body of policy L 2.2.0 within the commercial designation. And that's within the commercial designation, it shall be the intention of council to establish a Granville Street / Water Street development C2 zone in the land use bylaw, which permits uses such as banks and financial institutions, bed and breakfast establishments, to a maximum of 4 units, businesses and professional offices, dressmaking and tailor shops, existing residential uses, hotels, motels, institutional uses subject to institutional zone requirements, marinas and boat clubs, parking lots and parking structures, pavilions and band shells, photography studios, places of entertainment, recreation and assembly. And we strike out with wholly enclosed buildings. And so to continue, private recreation centers, public parks, recreation areas, repair shops, residential dwellings located at ground level and above commercial use, restaurants, retail stores, service and personal service shops, and wharves and docks. So I would like a motion to approve first reading and off that amendment to the municipal planning strategy, and would like to call for for the town of Upper Hawkesbury to hold a public hearing on that zoning amendment on June 9th of 2021, which will be followed by a special meeting of consideration of this change.
So, Terry, looking for first reading and on this motion, and you're also wanting to include the adoption of a public meeting on June 9th as part of the motion?
Yes, Chair. So one of the primary reasons to have first reading is actually, and the initial intent of first reading is actually to create that public hearing date. So it is an essential component of first reading is to establish the date. We will advertise that date. That date will be more than 14 days. We'll allow for 14 days of advertising. But John has his camera here, and I'd request that John speak to this as well.
Terry, you summarized that perfectly. That's exactly what the purpose of first reading is to set the public hearing date.
Okay.
I turned my camera on so you could see me nodding.
So what, do we have somebody to make the motion?
I would move the motion.
Seconder?
Seconded.
Moved by Councillor Coyne, seconded by Councillor McIver. Any discussion?
Question.
On the question, Deputy Worship, just to
Sorry?
clarify,
Yes. Go ahead, Councillor McDougall.
just on the, just for clarification, I mean, I got it pretty good in my head. I've been through it more than once. But we're having our first reading tonight. We're having a second reading. And the second reading is the same, is it, Mr. Bain, is it the same night as the public hearing?
So you've scheduled it for the same night as the public hearing. You'll have the public hearing first, and then you can, but council can also, at that meeting immediately following, decide not to give it second reading, to table it to your next council session for second reading. But the intent is to make provision for it to happen that night.
Yes, okay, thank you.
The question's been called. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
All those against? Motion carried.
Your worship, the next is the amendment to the land use bylaw with respect to the same issue. And so with respect to the land use bylaw, removing immediately following strike through text below within the Granville Street / waterfront development C2 zone, no development permit shall be issued in Granville Street / waterfront development C2 zone, except for the following uses. And we have places of entertainment, recreation, and assembly. Excuse me. And in this case, we have removed which are conducted within wholly enclosed buildings. So again, I'd ask for a motion to accept first reading of this, the zoning amendment, and for the public hearing to be held June 9th, followed by consideration of council of the amendment at a special meeting following that public hearing.
So moved.
Seconder?
Second.
Any discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All those against? Motion carried.
So, Chair, that is the end of the C2 amendments to the bylaw and to our bylaw and strategy. The next issue for consideration is with respect to rezoning of Elm Court, and with respect to that first reading, that it's.
So sorry, Terry, if I could interrupt.
Sorry, yes, the chair. I'm sorry.
Your worship is there, assume the chair.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Sorry for the disruption, Terry. Thanks for sending me a message, Jason. I appreciate it.
I should have waited, Mayor. I'm carried away.
No, that's okay. Feel free to get carried away again.
Yeah.
You're on.
So this is with respect to rezoning of Elm Court, and I might need John's help on this, but again, we asked for first reading that the town of Hawkesbury redesignated lots 141 to 149, 141 to 149 on Elm Court with the PIDs as listed on this slide, from residential designation to open space designation, and further that the same properties be concurrently rezoned from R2 residential unit zone to 1 open space zone. And again, we would ask for a public hearing to be held on June 9th, followed by consideration of council for this change in our bylaw and strategy at a special meeting following that public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Terry. What's the wishes of council? Councillor
So-
Point?
Worship.
Motion moved.
Okay, so Councillor Coyne has moved the motion. Do we have a seconder?
Seconded. Sorry, Councillor McIver.
Oh, go ahead.
No.
Seconded by Councillor McIver. And discussion on the motion that's on the floor.
Question.
Question.
Okay, thank you. Question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved.
Your worship, there was one other, there was an addition to the agenda as well.
Yes, yeah, correct. So we do have a approved addition for the purchase of a new grinder. Terry, I guess, is there any language around said motion that you would like to recommend for consideration?
Yes, Your worship, we drafted wording around that motion, and that's that the town of Port Hawkesbury approved the purchase of a new sewage grinder unit for the headworks at the sewage treatment plant in accordance with the recommendation presented by staff.
Thank you. What's the wishes of council?
I'd make the motion, Your Worship.
Sure, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Coyne. So we do have a motion for consideration. Is there any discussion for the motion that's on the floor?
Question.
Okay, Councillor McDougall has called the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved. I do believe that concludes all the items for our special public meeting. I would ask at this point if there for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor McDougall. I was getting a little worried there for a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.